Hey, I don't know about you, but I've got a whole rainbow of emotions. And it might sort of be seen in my hair at times too. But hey, if you're curious about emotional mastery, I wonder if you'd like to join the conversation live on Uplift today. Now, I mentioned before, we have a rainbow of emotions, and I trust that you lean into all of them because they all can all benefit us in one way or another, right? Hi, my name is Sarah Wade. I am co-host for today's episode of Uplifting Conversations that set your heart on fire, coming to you from Perth in Western Australia. And as always, my amazing co-host is joining us from Calgary in Alberta, Canada. Welcome, Neil Thrussell.
Thank you. And what an incredible topic that we're talking about today, emotional mastery, because I was not mastering my emotions in the green room. We were having tech issues and I was being me. And I'm really excited. As Sarah said, my name is Neil Thrussell at Calgary, Alberta. I'm an author, lover of life, and I'm so excited to have Indira with us today.
It's great to have you here, Indira. And I just want to say,
oh no! And the Perth, Australia internet has gone somewhere. So, Indira, what is emotional mastery?
That's a great question. So, emotional mastery is like we talk about emotions. Sometimes we have positive emotions. Sometimes we have uncomfortable emotions. And there's two types. One is, how do we feel in the moment? And the next is, how do we create that so we've got a maintenance of that? So we've got positive emotions every moment going forwards when we want to.
So standing around like this helps, right?
Those colors help fantastically.
I like the word maintenance. Are you inferring that we could keep this happiness, this go-lucky, this joy alive if we maintain it?
Yes. So like imagine that you have your car and you're going forwards in life. And with your car, you need to service it regularly. And occasionally you need to take it to a mechanic. Say, well, I got a couple of dings here and there. And I'd like the mechanic to sort out the dings, please. And then you get it back from the mechanics and you're just like, oh, it's like a brand new car again. Okay. And it's been serviced and the car's got energy. It's got a full tank and it's good to go on that journey. Emotional mastery is similar.
Ooh. So I have a little bit on the personal side. So a question. So, like, of course you were born perfect and you didn't have to learn this mastery stuff. You just woke up one day and you knew it all. There was no lessons of life and hard knocks. You just were the newest incarnation of Buddha. You were just and there. Or that's is there exactly a different story to it?
Okay, there's a different story. I think we're actually all born with that incredible joy inside of us. But over life, I've had some challenges and I got to a stage where I was a medical student doing my first year medical degree. And I got super sick. I couldn't walk very far. My memory was shot. My emotions were doing this. I was so anxious that if I had to go out, I had to go with someone. And I was also so anxious that I had to have someone sit with me at home. I couldn't be at home by myself. And being babysat when you're in your 20s isn't so cool. So I that was what started my journey of learning about emotional mastery.
Oh, losing your cool kid status was what started it.
Mm-hmm. Yup.
So as a med student then, were you aware of the signs and symptoms that you were having, or were you sort of blinker and unaware of what was happening to yourself at that point?
The first thing I did was take myself to the doctor and say, you know, these are the symptoms. So he ran a whole bunch of blood tests, and he came back and he said, there's, you know, we can't find anything in your blood tests. Now, this was 30 years ago, you know, so back then there's not the same amount of research as there was now. So eventually I would get a diagnosis of fibromyalgia syndrome back then. But at that time, they had no idea what it was. And the one piece of advice he gave me when my face fell, and I'm just like, oh, now what? Is he said, maybe it's psychological. And I said, okay, then, so how do I fix that? And he said, I don't know. But luckily, because I was a med student, I knew that even if I had completed all 3 years, I still wouldn't have learned everything there was to learn in the whole wide world. I would still only have a portion of knowledge. So that's what led me on my journey to go and try and find some more.
And where did your journey take you? So you were in the traditional world. Did you try non-traditional modalities?
I did. I tried quite a few. And eventually someone suggested acupuncture. And I was like, what's that? Oh, I don't know what that is.
Yep.
And I didn't like the idea of it, but to be quite honest, my life was so non-functional at that point. I was up for trying anything. So I went to this lady and said, like, these are my physical symptoms. She did this weird thing where she took my pulses. She like felt my wrists for a few minutes and then said, do you also have memory issues, anxiety issues, and like described what it was like on the inside of my head? I'm like, you know, like, wow. I'm like, how'd you do that? And then, can you help me? And then she said, what's happening is you have repair systems, and like everybody has repair systems and yours aren't working very well. And that was the reason why I was having all these issues.
And fast forward to today, is this what you're teaching and your gift to the world, or is there something else that you're sharing with the world?
So because I had that experience, because I studied the degree that she had, which is how these meridians, these electrical lines that Chinese medicine describes, how it links to the way your body feels and your emotions and your mindset. After that, I was really curious and going, I wonder how else I could use this. Like, you know, studied a whole bunch more, like neurolinguistic programming, emotional feeding technique, added a whole bunch of stack. And I'm like, okay, like there's a stack. People can come to me for information and that's cool. But then I got sick again. I had a whole bunch of emotional issues. I ended up disabled pretty much. You know, I had arthritis all the way through me. And I was like, I need to find a way to get better. Luckily, I'd done eight modalities worth of study. And I'm like, surely, universe, there's a way to like put it together to make this system to make me better. And then there was one day I had this idea. This idea came from nowhere and was just like, it's like this. And I'm like, wow, that's how it all connects. Wow. So I did that process for myself. And within 4 months, I went from 39 kilos and like disabled enough that someone needed to cut up my food for me. And, you know, if I went into a car, someone had to put my seatbelt on for me because I couldn't do it myself, you know. 4 months later, I was strong enough to say yes to a friend of mine who invited me to be a public speaker, a coach on his public speaker intensive 5-day course. And I was able to say yes, fly up there by myself, be a coach there for an intensive 5 days and absolutely love it. And then a few weeks later, I was able to take a flight to go and see my parents, which is from Australia, a 24-hour flight to go to England. And I was able to do all that by myself. Nowadays, I can dance, I can run. I don't run very often, but I can. And I've got my life back. I have zero pain, zero medication. And I know that when I help people with a system, they help their emotions. And that's a grounding for so many things, emotionally, physically, and mentally.
Absolutely. And I think we can all say, we all know that emotions are felt for reasons, right? Quite often, I don't know if you guys have noticed, and viewers watching live or in replay, have you ever heard someone say, maybe you've said, why is this happening to me? Why me? Yeah, you've said it, have you now? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think at one point we all have, and what I've learned, and I imagine what Indira and what you've learned, is that it happens for a reason. Like if you're getting angry, there's probably a boundary violation happening, right? So when we tap into our emotions and we recognize what they're for and why they're here, maybe, just maybe, it can help us to move forward. And I'm curious, Indira, how would you further that conversation?
So I totally agree that when we have an emotion come up, if we can then look further inside and go, so why, but the interesting thing is as well, there's another picture to the story, which was sometimes it's because these meridian systems are not working very well, and that's what creates the emotion. So for instance, if the meridian that links to anxiety, there's a specific system that links to that. If that one's not working very well, then you can have anxiety on a regular basis that's not actually linked to the current situation. And you're like, oh, I'm anxious all the time. Why is that? Like I was feeling. Once I'd healed the meridian system, the anxiety went away. I had my resilience back. There are certain people who come to me, they've got frustration issues. And it actually stems from the fact that the meridian system that's looking after you isn't working very well. Once that repairs and switch back on again, then you have the ability to deal with that emotion again. But then we need to talk about the positive emotions. Okay, the opposite of frustration is actually motivation. And sometimes what happens is if we get into a really big frustrated state, we might go, can't deal with this right now, I'm going to turn it off, switch. Where's my motivation gone?
Not me. Never done that. Nope.
Where did it go? Oh, it's just over your left shoulder.
Back on again, and then you've got your motivation back. Yeah. So it's like, you've got to, like, if we understand what the emotions are doing, what these systems are doing, then we have the ability to be able to heal them and also be able to use the positive emotions: willpower, motivation, creativity, love, joy, value, all those beautiful emotions. And emotional mastery is living more in that state where you get to generate these emotions from yourself into your environment.
Makes sense, yeah. We did have a viewer question just simply based on the title of the show, and they were curious to know what emotional mastery is.
So emotional mastery is the ability to be able to heal your past, create even more power, beautiful power in the present, so that you can create your future in a way that's in a way that you can design.
Beautiful. Oh yeah, love it. So I personally, whatever emotions that I'm coming up, I like to master them and just move through them. So if I'm annoyed and pissed, let me be annoyed and pissed, and then I can move through it. If I'm feeling anger, I choose to feel the anger and I move through it. That's me. Like sometimes I feel that many coaches want to shame me or move me from truly feeling the negative emotions, and I don't want to wallow in them, and I don't need to throw a pity. Well, sometimes a pity party, I need to throw that too, but I need to experience the negative emotions so that I can move through them, and from my personal perspective, quicker. When I truly experience them, I'm able to go through them quicker. Anybody else have that experience? If they go through them quicker if you've experienced them, or is it just me?
So on one aspect, yes, there are certain emotions that's like, it turns up and you experience them, you acknowledge them, and then you move through them. There are certain times when we get stuck in emotion. And, when I was super sick, then I was stuck in a whole bunch of emotions, and feeling them wasn't helping, Yeah. So it's like, okay, so if then it's like you're not able to move to the next stage. So if you can healthily feel the emotion and then move to the next stage, fantastic. Your job's done. You've healed yourself in that moment. But there are times when you need to do some extra stuff to heal.
Absolutely. And I heard you mentioned one of your modalities way back 5 minutes ago in the conversation. You mentioned EFT. What is EFT?
So EFT is one of the modalities, and basically it involves, I said that I talked about this meridian system that Chinese medicine's been researching for literally thousands of years. And it's an electrical system that touches every single cell in your body. And when you tap, like acupressure, if you tap on certain acupressure points, then they can activate the system. So for instance, if I'm feeling really frustrated with something and it's now half an hour later and I'm still feeling frustrated because I haven't been able to clear it, okay, then I can use this acupressure system to be able to tap and heal that emotion through these acupressure points.
And I have a friend who was, she was deathly afraid of flying. And she used, before, like hyperventilating, before she would get into a plane, used EFT, calm, and because I was a skeptic, like, how can tapping really, you know, I was the biggest skeptic. I will admit it. I thought it was and hooey. But witnessing my dear friend go through this and on the plane, I was like, oh my goodness, it works.
Right.
Firsthand. Yeah.
Completely. You know, so, and to be quite honest, I was a skeptic to start off with, and I had a degree in acupuncture. I was like, how does this stuff work? You know, tapping on things and you feel better. Like, but when I finally got it and then added that to the information I had in my degree, I'm like, wow, you can clear something that's, you know how like we go through life, something happens, we're like, I can't deal with this right now. So you open a box, throw it in, lock it up, put it away, keep going. Because you've got people to look after, podcasts to run, places to live, right? So sometimes what happens is, the shelf we put it on is actually your repair systems. That's the meridian system. And these repair systems are meant to be there to look after your body as well as your emotions and your mind. So it kind of like you end up feeling a bit more tired than usual. You know, you like you see small children who haven't done this process yet, and they kind of like fall over, get back up, keep going. Someone steals their toy, they cry it all out, and then 3 minutes later they're giggling again. That's because their repair systems are working really well. So as an adult, if we can do the maintenance to be able to help them again, one of the ways is through tapping, but there's another way through emotional mastery that I've created that pulls it all together. We can have an even better system.
Oh, sounds amazing. So that would have something to do with doing the absolute wrong thing and absolutely going against all of our internal judgments, right? Or is it more actually listening to ourselves and tapping into other people's knowledge and awareness and stepping forward? So maybe if we think about a tree, like, I don't know about you, but I look at trees quite regularly and I notice there's a trunk and there's some limbs coming off it with more twigs and the like. If you were to consider all these things that we've been stacking up to be on a limb, but that it's just getting more and more stuff put on it and there's more and more pressure put on it, what would you actually do? Does your system help you to sort of lighten the load of the limb, or how would you describe that? So
my system, basically all these like the emotions that have been the baggage that we stored on the shelf, okay, my system helps to clean that baggage in a way that's beautifully gentle and completely in alignment with for people who are intuitive, in alignment with your intuition. So if you're not intuitive, then like I teach people how to be intuitive. But when we can clear that, okay, every single one of that piece of emotional baggage is, we say someone pushes our buttons, those are the buttons, and when we clear them, then people can't push your buttons anymore. There was this one lady that came to me and she was like, had a list of 20 things that were less like, they were all 8 out of 10 in emotional, like distress to her. Okay. And I said, where in your body do you feel it? And she described this, which these days I call it a box. She described this shape inside of her. And she tapped on these 10 acupressure points. And we went round and round in circles. The shape got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and disappeared. So I went back to the list and said, okay, so out of 10, how much this one? 0. Oh, cool. And the next one, 0. We went down the whole list. They were all a 0. Okay. Now this lady, when she came to see me, all the issues she had, she couldn't do anything physically about it. There was emotional things that were happening externally. So she said, what do I do now? And I said, come back and see me next week and let me know how it goes. And she came back to see me and she said, the issues are still happening, but they don't press my buttons anymore. Oh. Now, this isn't a kind of like, oh, I can't see it anymore. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. This is because they don't press my buttons, I can be more positive, more able to live my life, more able to be helpful, more able to be loving to my my loved ones because of it.
One of my teachers and mentors said, in all truly healing, there's two aspects to it. It's the habitual part, and then it's the energetic clearing that needs to be done. And as I took one of his programs, and in it, he was working on a trauma release. This woman had been gang raped, and she had tried counseling, psychology, psychiatrist, pills, prescriptions, everything in the thing. For 20 years, she carried this energy behind it. And my teacher and mentor did his version of energetic healing, and he helped this woman do an energetic clearing and release the energetics behind it. And within an hour, she was day and night. She was when we first saw her, she knew where every exit in the room was. Within an hour after that, she was comfortable talking with men. She still needed coaching, or she needed to work on the habits that she had developed for protection. She was now working on, and that's a different modality. But she no longer was like.
It's amazing to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
completely
beautiful,
life-changing.
So to our viewers, our listeners, however you're tuning into this podcast, energetic healing does work. So what's the best way if someone decides that they really want to work with you, Indira? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
So they can go to my Facebook link. So my name, you can see on my thing, there you go, Facebook. So if you go to indira.hnattic on my Facebook, then that's one way you can contact me. And I've got some resources. There's a group there called Emotional Mastery for Success. And if you join that group, then you'll have access to some very interesting information. One of the things I've got for you as well is a gift. So it's a gift on how to turn down stress in seconds. And there's a 12-minute video to show you how to do that. So
I imagine that would serve people all over the world. Like who hasn't got 12 minutes at one point in their day or another, right?
Exactly.
Fantastic. So guys, whether you're watching this live or in replay, please feel free to reach out to Indira. She has got some amazing information that she would love to share with you, and as would Team Uplift. Please feel free to reach out. So in terms of, she says as she drops things, in terms of when something startles you, you're going about your day and, you're feeling a bit startled. Maybe you've started out your day feeling quite fine. You're on an emotional plane. Going forward, you're feeling a bit startled, and then the next thing has happened, and the next thing has happened, and suddenly your good day has snowballed into a moment. One of the things that has helped me in times like that was like flicking a rubber band or something on my wrist or holding on to ice. Now, that's what psychiatrists tell you to do. There's a whole other way of thinking as well. Because you've been speaking about acupressure and things like that, one of the gifts that I want to give to you guys is literally, holding something in your hand. I mentioned it before. I've got a wand. You guys know me. I'm a little bit creative. This is selenite and bunch of other amazing things on this stick, and I put it in my hand because I'm prone to headaches. So I put it right here, and this helps me to help myself in the moment. And I can squeeze it, and it feels good to get it out. And like Neil, I like to feel my emotions. You know, we mentioned at the start of the show, we have a rainbow of emotions for a reason. What I like to do is limit it. And sometimes it can be 28 seconds. Sometimes it can be 2 or 3 minutes. But what you choose to do is what may or may not work for you. Now, if you've got any questions for Indira, obviously she's got a wealth of information. Please do chuck it into the comment section so that we can answer that question live for you. I'm sure that she'd be more than willing to tap into anything that you ask. And on that, what other things would you suggest that people did in the moment? You know, they've had that snowball effect. What would you recommend that people do, Indira?
One of the the meridian that links to the lungs is all about letting go. So if you know, we have heard of the like taking a deep breath in and being able to let go, and that can help. Now, you know, that may be just enough to get you to kind of like, okay, I'm ready to do the next bit of my, you know, of my day. There is more to it, but that is a really good one. Funny enough, you said about the holding your wand in here. There's an acupressure point just in the in your bit where your finger and your thumb meet. That helps with headaches. So, you know, it's a fantastic way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, there's a wealth of information out there. So if you felt like you've tried everything, or maybe you know someone who's felt like that, know that no one knows everything, and there are different ways of going about it. Even if you've tried acupressure before, acupuncture, and it hasn't worked for you for one reason or another, go back to somebody else. Go find different people, different modalities, and don't stay stuck. Guys, we are in a world where we can change, and we can have these drastically quick changes, like in an hour, as both of you guys have spoken to before. Maybe you just have to find the right modality for you. So if you're curious about learning different modalities, Neil, I know you've had a lot of experience in a bunch of different modalities over the years. You've been to multiple trainings and retreats and beautiful things like that. What have you noticed that would help people in that situation to start to look into getting some help?
For me, always the first question is, be willing to ask for help. That's sometimes the biggest barricade that we have, because if we think it's mental, I believe we have a stigmatism about mental health, and when it is a mental health issue, we sometimes diminish what mental health means and the effects of what depression could be, or just feeling bummed out for 2 months in a row. No, I'm not depressed. No, it's whatever. So we have a stigmatism. I believe we have a stigmatism around it. So be willing to ask for help is the very first step in my view. What anybody else? What's another step that you think people could do or use?
I think that like sometimes just sitting down with a pen and paper or your computer and just writing down, like, you know, what is it that I am actually feeling? And if you take that time out and write some stuff out, and like start off with, maybe you're not quite sure, you know, it's just like, it's like random what comes out. If you just keep going, give yourself like 15-20 minutes and just keep writing. Yeah. And that way you can then explore different parts. A lot of the time it's all jumbled up in there, and it's kind of you're scatting around different subjects. Pen and paper, it just allows it all to flow.
And I'd like to add, feel your emotions. Don't be embarrassed. Feel. If you're feeling, explore that. Like, allow yourself to feel the emotions. Whether you're a man or a woman, whatever you identify as, own your emotions. I'm feeling pissy right now. So own it, and then you can move on. It's when we don't own it is when we run into issues.
I think so many of us ignore those things, don't we? Like, does anyone know someone, maybe you've done it yourself, you know, you've ignored those signs and you've not ignored it, and then suddenly in the most inappropriate time, you could just have this, well, tantrum, you know, and it can be a huge effect on everybody around you. And I think it's curious how we can all go about our next response, you know, how we act or react to a trigger or a place or something that's happened within ourselves, or it might be a smell or a song even that has triggered you to get into a spot. Noticing what our emotions are coming up like. Is it a boundary violation? This is important to recognize. No, this is not right for whatever reason. It could even be that you see something else out in public that doesn't seem right and you intervene because you are helping somebody who needs help, who can't ask for that word right now. They are in a situation and they just need help. I think when it comes to help, you know, as Neil said, there is such a huge stigma around it. What have you noticed, Indira? Obviously, you've got training in a variety of things and a wealth of knowledge. Once that person has asked for help, are they likely to fall back through the cracks again, or is there a way that we can support a person or ourselves to gain that help and to continue that maintenance that you mentioned before?
When, like, if you are the one that's asking for help, then my suggestion to you is to keep going. You know, keep trying to find another way to make, you know, if you go to one person and you find that's not going to give you what you're looking for, keep trying. You know, for me, it took a while for me to find the right tools for me. And now when I'm seeing my clients, then, you know, I have a whole bunch of tools to be able to help them go through it faster. But I wouldn't have got there if I hadn't asked. And the other thing is the safety valve. I remember when I was exhausted looking after kids and just like everything was like nothing was working in my life at a certain point. And I had the 70% rule. Someone showed it to me. The 70% rule is this. Usually we want to be completely loving and kind and wonderful with our kids all the time, or our loved ones or anybody else, right? And we're like, I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to get this. I'm not going to like, and then we get to 100% and blow. Yeah. And then we don't have the control. And it was like, when you get to 70%, then express it. You can express it beforehand, but make your okay, I'm done at 70%, which then means you have way more control at, you know, not being controlling, but you have self-control on the way you express yourself, which means you can be kinder with your words, you can be more productive, you can be, you're more likely to be able to get the outcome for you and your loved ones as well.
I love that. Hey, I want to add to that. You guys know I'm an art therapist, and an amazing technique that we use is actually just using bottles and caps. And I don't know about you, but sometimes, you know, I might screw the wrong milk bottle on. You know, I've taken 2 out of the fridge and one just doesn't go back on properly. Or maybe I've just picked up a water bottle cap or something instead and it just doesn't go on right. Now, I've had this experience both in groups and in one-on-ones with people using this art therapy experiential, where you do have a selection of bottles and a selection of lids. And one thing that was curious exploring people with was how long before you let that valve out, you know, before you let a bit of something out, before you explode. And I just love that Indira has mentioned that now, because it's something that we all can notice, and most of us will push past it and push past it and push past it until it hits the fan. And if that happens to you, it's okay. And more importantly, notice what you notice in the moment. And if you're around small humans or big humans alike, let them know, hey, I'm not feeling right at the moment, or I made a mistake, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't have let it get that far. Or back up to that 70% and say, hey, I just need a moment. And you can do that with words, or literally, as Indira said before, just by taking that breath. So when we take that breath in, often when we have a conversation with others, they will mimic us and they will also take that breath. So if you're feeling like you're getting to your 70%, someone else is probably escalating too. So by you taking control of that situation, you're all benefiting. What else would help benefit everybody when you're getting to that 70% mark, Indira?
Another way, if we go to family and relationships, another way is to be able to actually have conversations about how do we want to argue? How do we want to have a positive argument? You know, and it's and you can actually have a talk about, like, what is it that would benefit both of us? Where are our triggers? Okay, so like it could be like, it's like, okay, so we both want to work towards a common goal, and we both have different opinions. If I get to a certain point, then actually my brain doesn't work that so well if I get too emotional. So would it be okay for me to say, kind of, can we have like a break, cup of tea or something? You know, I'm English, so it's a cup of tea. You know, so and then, you know, and then kind of come back to it with a fresh mind, and then with the intention of finding a common ground. There's two kinds of arguments. There's trying to find a common ground and to try to prove you're right. And as one of my teachers said, you can either be connected or right. You can't be both at the same time.
Well, if you guys are doing it my way, we're connected.
That's right.
And I love that you talked about, in relationships, arguing or disagreeing fairly. Because when you bring the 100% game and you're there instantly, that's not a fair discussion. Especially if I'm still tootling here at a 30% into it. And it's like, oh my goodness. So it's a beautiful skill that couples, well, any relationship, anytime you have more than one, to learn is to disagree fairly.
Yeah.
What's an example of that, Neil? Can you give us an example?
Well, there's tons, but recognizing the other person is 100% right in their emotions and in their perspective. They're 100%. And I am 100% right in my perspective and in my emotions. So it's just me learning to honor the other person and knowing, and back to what Indira says, do I need to be right, or do I need to be connected? And it's recognizing that if I need to be right, well, then I'm just going to say it out, like, no, I want to be right. And it changes the fight. It changes the discussion.
I want to add to that too. You know, there are some people who, even though in a conversation or an argument, they could, you know, be flipped. You know, they've gone from no, it's not right to yes, it is. Some people won't want to admit that for one reason or another. It could be a personality thing. It could be a stubbornness thing. It could just be a you hurt me kind of thing. There's a variety of reasons that we do the things that we do, and feel the things that we feel, and think the things that we do. And it's up to us how we can choose what we're going to benefit from that situation. And if you're feeling that, you know, fuck you kind of attitude, maybe it's best to walk away at that time and have that conversation that, yeah, I'm going to come back to that with you later, because right now I'm feeling things and it's not fair for you. And if you can tap into that person and say, well, I know that you're feeling X, Y, and Z right now, they feel heard and honored, it makes the world of difference. It really does. Indira, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, there's an interesting thing with the stress response. The stress response is there to look after us in danger, but it actually makes us more stupid. So why is it useful? The stress response is purely, you know, if I'm getting chased by a dragon, I need to be able to run away really fast, and I need to focus. So if I'm to think things like, I wonder how I can compassionately tell the dragon to stop, kind of like, I'm going to get eaten, right? You know, I wonder if I can remember to kind of like pick up milk on the way. You know, there's a whole bunch of things like memories, compassion, that get shut down, so that you can just purely, like, you know, focus on running. So if you're in a heightened state of mind, then it's possible that you're not actually having all your faculties available to you to have a proper discussion. So like with the gift I have for you, how to turn down stress in seconds, if you can turn down your stress response, you have more of your faculties. You are able to have a clearer, cleaner conversation with that person. And I'm not talking about being a doormat. I'm not saying like, okay, so, you know, we can either be connected or right. So therefore to be connected, you're always right. That's not fair, you know. But if you have a healthy relationship where you can create this, or you're beginning to both choose to have a relationship that's healthier, you can then choose how to weave in this emotional mastery to be able to have a conversation that's clearer to the truth, compassionately, rather than having the heightened stress of an argument.
Makes sense. So one of the things that we've discussed on Uplift in the past is there's a variety of ways to figure out what your thoughts are. You know, before, Indira, you mentioned journaling, and it's something that both Neil and I do personally, and I assume that you do. If you're a viewer and you're watching this with us live or in replay, let us know if you journal. And I'm curious to know if you've actually already reached out to Neil, because he has got a journal available.
I do. And I'd love to be able to give it away. And in order to get it, it's a 30-day gratitude journal. And you can just go to gratitude.neilthressel.com. It's free. It's a PDF. And yes, it subscribes you to an email list. But the power of journaling is far worthy of greater rewards than the annoyance of being on my email list, which you can unsubscribe at any time anyways. Journaling, as we've discussed, is truly an opportunity. It's a self-serving mini vacation. It's just a little time for yourself to go on a little retreat and be with yourself and your thoughts. And they can be positive or they're negative. There's no judgment, but it gives you an opportunity to do it for 30 days. And then hopefully you like it and you continue on. And if you don't, no crime. But I think you will, once you start journaling, most people stick with it.
And neurobiologically speaking, you know, 30 days is enough to make that change. 30 days is enough for us to change our habits from what one person may say negative to the positive. If you think about like when it rains at the top of a mountain, water will come down wherever it lands, and it'll sort of form a route down the hill, which will eventually lead to that river. Now, at times, I don't know if you've ever been on a river before and you've noticed that the river might split in two. Well, we're actually able to change our brains to go away from that river that we're circuiting down with our usual thought patterns and change it in one way or another. And 30 days is all it takes. It can take up to 3 months, and it depends how much practice you've got in. There's a whole other lot of varieties here. However, please reach out to Neil. He's got some amazing things that he has built up over time he'd love to share, and that gratitude journal is just the start.
And thank you for bailing me out and helping promote it, because I lost my brain as soon as we started talking about dragons, because all I was thinking about is I have a friend that we love to argue, and we will just debate for no reason. And then you mentioned dragons, and I'm going, oh, do I love him enough that I will save him from the dragon, because he's infatuated with dragons? So I'm like, crap, now we have a quest going on here, because now I have to help him slay the darn dragon. My mind was like gone all the way out there, and then Sarah says journaling, and I'm like, okay, can you tell that I'm a writer and an author, and I'm all of a sudden writing stories in the midst of this?
Amazing.
I love that. And we've got Alison who's jumped on and said, love journaling. She's finished a massive walk and meditation and just had a moment with soul, and then journaled the messages that she received. And yeah, she's much love to both you and Dragon. So right back at you, Ali. We send love your way too.
Yep. So yeah, I admit I was taken out.
Yeah, I think the law of dragons, you know, the way that we can tell a story through metaphors is really quite powerful. So if you're feeling a little bit, don't know what exactly is going on, I wonder if it would be possible just to push that aside for a moment and maybe put yourself in the shoes of a dragon, or perhaps it's prey, or, you know, a knight, or somebody that would suit your story in a vague kind of way, just to get it out of your head in sort of spitball. You know, you could maybe do some free writing or throwing, or you know, start throwing some paint around, or whatever you need to do to get it out. I don't know, maybe you might just start collecting a bunch of crystals and looking at them and noticing the pretty facets about it, and admiring the scars. Because I don't know about you, but I've got scars, emotional and physical, and that's okay. And so does the dragon. So tap into that wisdom, tap into that law in a new way. And again, you're able to think about that river, that emotional body, mind mirror in a new way that can benefit you. And we keep mentioning the word benefit. Has anybody else noticed that word benefits popped up a bunch of times? Like, yeah, curious, isn't it? Oh, how could this conversation benefit you? Drop it in the comments. We'd love to know.
So I'd like to just move us aside just a bit. So Indira, as you're working with your clients, do you help them with their relationships? Like, because sometimes it's the relationships that are the emotional block. We've got, you know, my partner, my friend, somebody in our life is causing us undue stress. So do you work with that types of energetic blocks, or is that not your not part of your offering?
So I mostly work with emotional mastery for success. So I work with coaches a lot to be able to help them to, you know, get their business up and going, to, you know, clear the emotional blocks for them to create their success. Including in that is relationships as well, because it's our personal relationships that are the quality part of our life, you know, with whoever it is that's your loved ones. So so if people have issues with that, then I help with that too, to help people to have like when you feel happy inside, when you can generate happiness inside, when you can feel like generate love inside of you, and you're not dependent on someone else on the outside to provide that, then your tank is working really well. You have the ability to shine. You have the ability to then give the energy to your clients as well and be a better coach. So whether it's relationships or success, it's all the same thing as far as I'm concerned with emotional mastery.
Oh, thank you. And to whether you're listening to this now, replay, or on a podcast, everyone, however you define success, everyone at some point in time, to get to the next level of success, whatever it is, needs helping hand somewhere along the line. Even if you pick someone that's already famous, and to get to their next level, they're going to need some help. And I'm glad that you're there to help our clients, the people of the world, the listeners. So thank you for doing that, Indira.
You're welcome. It's an absolute pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to just touch on the fact that Indira said she helps coaches. You know, everybody needs help. Doesn't matter who you are. We all need help. You're not above help. You're not worth the help. Reach out, ask, slay your personal dragon, or perhaps caress that dragon and nurture all the gifts and all the gems that can benefit you. You enjoy life.
Yeah. So let's go back to your offering. So you've got what's little tidbit in the 12-minute video? What's a little snippet that you got to entice them to want to come to this little 12-minute video?
In the 12-minute video, I show you how to turn down, like I said, how to turn down your stress systems, but also what your stress systems do, how they help you, and also how they're not quite so helpful what are the benefits of being able to turn down your stress systems and, you know, have even more of your motivation, even more of your creativity, and how to be able to access that. So I also do a 5-day free challenge. And with that, then people can go even deeper into emotional mastery. So they can, I teach tapping on that as well. So you can learn how to clear out some of those past things and be able to go forwards into the future. So, and the turn down stress in seconds is part of that too.
In my most knightly voice, pray tell, what is this 5-day challenge you speak of?
So with the 5-day challenge, it's an hour a day. And the next one's going to be on the 8th of May. And during that time, we go through how to turn down stress in seconds. How do we clear the past using using those acupressure points? And also, what is it that you want in your future? For some people, they're really clear, but they're clear until where they are. They're not clear what the next level is. So we go through and, as a group, go through and, you get the questions to be able to ask yourself, what's the next level, so that you can be able to create that in your life.
Oh. So for this 5-day challenge, is it best to go to connect with you on Facebook directly, or is it best to join your group?
If you join my group, then you'll have all the details there of how to access the challenge.
And if you're not a groupie yet, just jump on and Indira will tell you how to become part of her group.
Exactly. So on my Facebook page, then there's the information about how to get to the group, but there's also, you can just message me directly on that and I'll be able to answer some of your questions.
Oh, so, and just to read it, May 8th is the next one?
May 8th, 8 p.m. Australian time. Sydney
Or
time.
in the eastern states, I assume yeah?
Say again? In
the eastern state, like Australian Eastern Standard Time,
yes.
There are quite a few time zones here as there are in Canada. Just checking.
Australian Eastern Standard Time and Sydney time, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, 8 p.m. Sydney time. Alison has just confirmed. Oh, looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Hey, looking forward to that. Welcome.
There's an amazing opportunities left, right, and centre here to think about you personally. Just take a moment just to block everything else out. What do you need right now? What have you gained from this conversation that can help you move forward? Just take a minute. If you feel like it, drop it in the chat. But notice what you notice in this moment, because you've been gifted this opportunity. Take it. Oh, thanks, Dara. Dara's just come on and said, amazing humans. I mean, this is true. Some of us might be dragons, but, we'll figure that out later.
Hi, Dara.
And for those in my time zone, 8 p.m. Sydney is 4 a.m. In Edmonton or Mountain Standard Time. So would this be available on replay?
I do have replays available. So if you sign up, then you will get access to the replays so that you can do it with us as well.
There we go. This is even better. We love when technology works with us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on that, if you're in Perth, it's 6 o'clock your time. There's a 2-hour gap between us. So just in time before you start relaxing for the night. Excellent. Might be worth looking at your emotional mastery.
Nice and relaxed, and you can drift off to a deep sleep and wake up full powered the next day. So, and like if people are watching the recording, I'll be running events, regularly. So, find out when the next one is.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. So, I'm cognizant of the time, and we still have time to head into another topic, but I'm also wanting to give us ample time to be able to just share. So my hopes, prayers, like the world is crazy right now, and I really love what Indira said about learning to disagree fairly. And that's what I really would wish for the world right now, is whatever opinion you hold on to, allow for the energy of another person's opinion to come in there and debate, share your information, and allow another to share theirs, so that we can debate and disagree from a place of love, from a place of admiration and respect. And so that would be my wish and takeaway, and that you sign up and take part in Indira's 5-day challenge. And that would be what I would like to leave you with today.
Indira,
thank you so much for inviting me here. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yes, like I think that the more people know how to, heal and manage their emotional mastery, the ripple effect that happens in the world is awesome.
Yeah, imagine how many people could benefit from you tapping into your emotional mastery. Imagine your children or your neighbors or your co-workers or whomever is in your life. Imagine how that kindness wave will affect them, because you're looking at yourself. Oh, huge. One of the amazing things that I like to do as a mum is supporting my small human. And one of the things that gives me a beautiful buzz is seeing how she translates that and shares that information with her friends. Now, I'm not going to go into details, but on the weekend, we had a sleepover at our house. We were camping in the backyard, had a fantastic time. There was a little issue, and my daughter stood up and said, I made a mistake. It was beautiful. My daughter is 6. She had the most beautiful, emotional, intelligent response. And I know and love that she shares that with her friends. Now, if my 6-year-old can do that, and everybody here on the screen can do it, I wonder if it's possible that you could do that too. Let us know. What are your thoughts, guys? Do you think it's just us that can do it, or are other people able to tap into that too? I think we all can. Hey, we are going to wrap Uplift Up in a very short minute. So before we do, Neil, have you got anything to leave us on briefly for today?
If you need help, find the courage and just ask for help, and know that you are loved.
Oh. And Indira?
If you can learn how to love yourself really deeply, then that love can extend to everybody.
Ooh, love that. Oh, and if you can love yourself, what could that lead to for you? How could that little epiphanic moment, did I just make up a word? Moment.
Love that word. Amazing word.
Sounded good in my mind. I should be a writer too now. How could that little epiphany really change you to go from that roadblock of emotions to that real love, to then benefiting yourself and all those around you? Might be something to consider. Anyway, we're going to love you and leave you for now. Until next time, we'll see you in a fortnight on Uplift. Take care and go out and create those uplifting conversations.
Be good.